Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma is so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. I can hear you. Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear me now?
There, I can hear you now. Don't you just
It never
love it?
fails. It never fails.
You would think that we would learn by now, but you know what? You're never too young or old to make mistakes and then laugh about it.
And that's why I'm laughing right now together.
Okay. I
So
am just
welcome.
hey, you can as you can see, I'm in a different place.
Yeah, I
I am
noticed.
right now in Denver, and
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
yeah. Last week I was just came from Tulsa, went to a wedding last week. Anyway, let's start over. Good morning, everyone. This is the time to shine. Happiness. So
You know we just get right into talking, then we
I
do that
know we
afterwards.
just get into it.
You know the routine.
Yeah, but you know what? Welcome everybody to the Time to Shine Happiness show.
Mhm.
Because you know what? It really is your time to shine and be happy. And I don't care if you are 12. Welcome. Wouldn't that be fun if we had 12-year-olds watching the show? But you know what? Hey, but if you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s and and thinking, oh yike, what have I done with my life and where am I going now? Then this show is for you. I'm Barbara Ellison and I am your wellness pro. And just because it's just all about wellness and that's body, mind, and spirit. And
Mhm.
so I just am having such a fun life here in Denver. Yesterday we went to the zoo, so which is another story. But who are you, Miss Barb? Because and why I want you to introduce yourself is because yesterday some of the things that I did at the zoo are because of you.
Oh, okay. Well, with that said, my
Yeah,
mission is to first of all help people, especially women, in business to understand their purpose, understand, what they should be doing. They might be a little confused or just, just like, okay, I really don't know, but I need a little bit push. So I'm that little cheerleader to push them to say, hey, you need to do what you need to do because we only live this one life. Try to do what you feel like is best. And then after they find that out, then I help them with the visibility part because I feel like we said, time to shine. I want them to shine for others so they know who they are and how important they are. And I help them through all different aspects: interviews, TV streaming shows, social media, the works. So that's what I try to do for everybody.
yeah.
But so I want to get to what you're talking about, what you did yesterday to lead to this.
Yesterday went to the zoo. I mean, you have been taught. We have been doing this show for it was a year in June.
Yes.
And Barb always talks about getting visible, doing things that are a little bit once in a while to start with, a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my thing you've heard me say, just get over yourself and just get over it, just get out there and do it, kind of thing, because people need to hear your excuse me, people need to hear your message.
Yes.
Anyway, so yesterday it was like, but part of life is enjoying your life, being happy. Well, I'm here in Denver. My girlfriend said, hey, you know what? I've got dollar tickets to go to the zoo. I said, I love the zoo. I love going to the zoo. So off we went to the Denver Zoo. Well, while we were there, we were just talking about the show that we do social media and how important it is to do some sort of social media stuff. And you've been talking about doing, posts and getting exposure and all that. And it was like, okay, so, but you know what? How do you do some of these things? We don't all know how to do everything. So
Mhm.
yesterday I started to learn how to do reels.
Oh, uh-oh. Nice.
So it was like, Shelly said, and I said, oh, Barb keeps telling me I need to learn how to do some of these little things to get out there, and just and then how to use them out
Mhm.
there, which is where you've come in, but she's teaching me the actual technical part of doing it. So yesterday she said you take 15-second videos
Mhm.
of all sorts of fun things. So partway through, it was like, you know what? I am going to do a whole series of life lessons from nature. Of
Ah,
all, you should see some of the cute little 15-second videos that
mhm.
I've taken at the zoo yesterday that
Oh,
are going to be Like one of them, I got a little 15-second video of a turtle. I can't wait for this one. I think this is the one I'm going to do today. It's a turtle and it's just reaching up like this, and it's a turtle. And I said, Shelly, this little video is going to be perfect for you can never be too big or too slow to reach for your dreams.
Oh no.
That's
You know what? That's what I that's what I really admire about you, Barbara, because you can find anything. I mean, anything to give that positive spin to help us all grow. Because I would have never. I would never kind of thought about that, like with the turtle and reaching. I was looking at the turtle. I was like, okay.
I was looking at this turtle, and that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, is just changing that little flip of your switch.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then if you can just turn the direction, even just 1 degree. So yesterday, yes, I had fun. I went to the zoo. Okay, I'm going to take 15-second videos. But when I was, because I knew I was going to take 15-second videos, when I saw something, what lesson came to mind? And it was just that little shift. And we can do that in anything.
Yes.
Because one of the things is that you have to communicate with your subconscious mind. Because our subconscious mind, it kind of thinks in metaphors. It thinks in stories. It really does. That's where your thoughts are all. Sometimes you just feel like you're in a jumble of thoughts. That's how your brain thinks. It thinks in visions and stories. But one of the things it also doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. It doesn't know the difference. And it can only it only thinks in the present tense. What's going on now? It remembers, but that's the key word there. It remembers your past things. Let them go. If it's not serving you anymore, let it go. And you can train your brain to forget it, because your brain only knows what it's knowing right at this moment. It only knows that right now I am on the Time to Shine Happiness show, and I'm with my co-host, Barbara Beckley. This is what it knows. It remembers that I was on this show last week, but it only knows right now that this is where I am.
Oh, before you get to the next point, I love how I want to dig a little bit to what you just said. So, you know how some people might say, well, I'll never forget what happened to me, back in the day when I was 19, and they might be in their 50s. Or, I just can't let go of this. And I'm liking, and not saying that, that whatever trauma, whatever happened,
Right.
it is, trauma, and, people, you realize that. But I feel like what you just said is still up to you to say, you know what, that happened to me in that moment in time. It was a bad thing or whatever, but then I have to move forward. So that's what you're kind of saying is like, okay, you're going to have to let it go. What lesson was learned, whatever went on, okay, that happened. Now let's move forward. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that.
Right. And the thing is, though, that's what makes us different than any other species on the planet. We have the ability to choose. We can choose to remember, or we can choose to forget. It's a choice every day. I choose to remember the things that I enjoy rather than the things that brought me pain and heartache. And like once in a while, yeah, you have to. It's like it's coming up on the 1 year of the 10-year anniversary that when my husband passed away. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've shed a few tears over it. Absolutely. But you know what? In every day, I don't dwell on it because I have a choice. I can have, and yesterday, one of the reels that I did was that I was just learning a new skill and having a blast. Because I'm a senior. That's one of the things. And that was one of the videos, one of the little videos I did. I'm a senior. I'm a successful, energetic, no nonsense, inspiring, outrageous rebel looking for her next adventure. And do
Mhm.
you want to come and be one too? Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. I love it every time you say that. The
that,
senior.
but that's a choice.
Yeah. It's
That's
it's
a
all back to that.
choice.
Like you said, Barbara, it's
And
all back to choice.
it's all back to choice.
Mhm.
We have that choice. And the only thing I think personally that anybody has to start with is number one to say, hey, you know what? I choose to be a little I want to choose today to be different than yesterday. If
Mhm.
you've been wallowing in something and hey, and sometimes you're gonna wallow, we all wallow, and that's okay. But don't stay there.
Yeah.
Don't take up residence there.
That's
Do
it.
it, get over yourself, and
Mhm.
get on. Because
Mhm.
there's too many other people out there that need you. They
Mhm.
need you. They need us. And
Yeah.
we're the seniors, especially now. We've got a whole generation of young people coming up that their people skills are a little bit less because they do
Mhm.
everything they're doing everything with this,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, but it starts with believing that you can.
First of all, I just, again, as always, Barbara, I give you kudos for taking on that next learning experience that you did, and then added on top of that, you got that learning experience about, okay, let me do some reels, and then from that point, look what you did. You create a whole a whole version of things that you can put out there already. I mean, you already got content that you already created. I'm so proud of you. It's so
Yeah. And that's the thing, but it started with a friend of mine saying, "Well, do a reel." And I went, "What's a
great.
reel?" I had no idea. What's a reel? And had no idea.
And
But
it's funny because all these platforms now, because with even with LinkedIn, you can do those
oh,
videos now. You can.
exactly.
I was like, everywhere you go, it says you can just do all this. So
And
there's so much.
that's why this is just such a and is it like and I truly believe God has perfect timing.
Yeah.
And we let's tell a little bit. Our guest for today, her name was Darlene, and she had a family emergency, so she wasn't able to come on. So at the last minute, she said, "Oh, you'd love my friend Jillian." And the funny part was, I had met Jillian probably a year or so ago,
Oh, okay.
and but didn't. And then it was like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? And then, of course, research and went, oh yeah, we've talked. Anyway, but it's she's about like getting older but living younger
Younger.
because it's we have the choice. We have the choice in how we feel and learn something. And that was one of the things. I mean, I only lost my dad 2 years ago, and he
Mm.
was 102. And but one of his things was that he learned something new every day. He did something to learn something.
To
He
keep.
did to keep
Mhm.
active,
Yes.
to keep your body active. And like one of the things that just a couple of weeks ago, one of the gals was saying that that she was sitting doing some stuff. I said, yeah, but make sure you set a timer that every 45 minutes you stand up.
Yes.
And
See,
she went,
I'm glad you said
what? She went, what? I said, set a timer every 45 minutes,
that.
60 minutes tops.
Ever since you
Yeah,
told me that, I got a little timer. It sits right next to me, and I set it. And as soon as it goes beep, 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 I get up and do, what I have to do.
right. But but Barb, how many times does it go off and you think it hasn't been 35? It hasn't been
Yeah.
45 minutes.
You're so, Barbara, you're so right. I was like, wait a minute.
It hasn't been, but it has because the timer just went off. And that's why it's so important to set the timer. Because our brain does only things only our brain only functions in the present.
Yeah.
Like I had like this morning, I'm a different time zone, so I had my call that I normally do before the show every Tuesday. And
Mhm.
so but in between it was like, okay, Barbie, you got to stand up, stretch, sit back down again.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Even if you only do that,
Yes.
You must do it because if you're not growing,
Mhm.
if you're not learning, but if you're not learning, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're stagnating. And what
Mhm.
happens when you stagnate? When a pond stagnates,
Mhm. Ah,
And so what do you think your body's doing?
that's a good. That's I mean that's
What do you think
bad.
your
But that's
body is
good
doing?
scenarios.
Oh, people
I'm
stand.
stinking. I'm
Yeah,
stinking. I'm stagnating like a
you're
pond. Ooh,
stagnating, getting a slimy thing on top of it.
I love it.
Well, what
Ooh,
do you think? What do you think's going on in your body?
wow.
That's a fact of nature. So, what do you think's going on in your body?
Wow.
You're getting,
Awesome.
you're letting your body get full of sludge.
Ugh.
Oh, duh. Stand up. Do stuff. Whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally.
Yes.
Let's not forget emotionally.
And that's why we have to keep moving and kind of let go, or
Let go
like
of
you
the
said, or just let
past.
it keep it there and where it was and keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because we all have wounds.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Though by continuing to fixate on it, you're not letting the wound heal.
Mhm.
Okay, truth. How many times have you had a scab and picked off the scab instead of letting it just be by itself? And Barbara, for heaven's sakes, quit picking at that scab because sometimes when something is healing,
Mhm.
it's itchy.
Yes.
It's you notice it. If you don't like it, it's uncomfortable. So you just pick on it. Well, if I just pick off the scab, it won't itch anymore. But then you got to start over
All
again
over again. Yeah.
because you've got to let it heal again. Quit picking at your scabs. Oh,
That could be a book. That could be an
what?
ebook.
Yeah,
That could be an ebook. Quick
quit picking at your emotional scabs.
scabs. Because why? And then
And
you have to start all
you
over. Like you said, you have to start
yeah,
over again.
start all
Healing.
over again. You have
That's
to
good.
start the healing process over again. And that's exactly what happens to people. And yesterday it was like, oh wow. And one of the videos I did was these two lions, and that they were just kind of like they were by themselves, but they were oh no, they weren't lions, they were the kangaroos. And they were just kind of looking at each other, but they were just kind of just sitting there and just kind of lying there and just looking at each other. And so the caption is going to be, sometimes you just have to get lazy and hang out with your friends.
I thought you were
Right?
going to say, it's funny because I thought you were going to say somebody, sometimes you have to do that self care or something like that.
Well,
So,
yeah, oh no, I have one of those too. I
okay.
have one of those too of two lions, and one of them is licking, and the other one was just sitting there being pampered. Life lessons
Loving it.
from nature.
I'm loving it.
We need
Yeah, I
to,
can't
we
wait to see
need
these reels. I
the
can't wait to see them.
yeah. This is going to be such fun, and but that's exactly the truth.
Uh-huh. That's
Don't
it.
pick at your scabs. I'm gonna have to do a post on
I
that.
told you.
Don't
Yeah.
pick at your scabs.
I'm telling you,
But
Barbara, you need to do a
but we
post or
do
a
it,
quote. Yeah, that's good.
but we do it all the time.
You do it all the
And so
time.
that's why it's so important what you do is helping people to get to that point too. Put it out there.
Yeah. 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 Well, with that said, we're going to go to our sponsor and then we're going to bring on Miss Dr. Jillian so we can talk a little bit more about, getting older but getting younger. I don't like this subject.
Yes.
we got a star. Jillian, Dr. Jillian, are you there?
I am. Is my camera not on? Let me just see what I have to do.
Yeah.
You're in the show. Everyone can see you and hear you.
Click on the camera mic part.
Do. Oh, okay. Stop camera. Oh, here we go. Camera mic. I said yes. Snap camera. Okay. I guess you can hear me.
Yes,
We can hear you.
I'm
Would
not sure.
really love to see you though.
There
but
we
you know
go.
what?
FaceTime H. Is this the one that I use? There we
You
go.
might. There
yes,
you are.
Yay!
Okay. Technology. You've just introduced me to a new technology, and I love it.
Oh, wow. We're all getting this new this week. So wonderful.
And
Wonderful to have
now
you,
I
Doctor.
think I need to
Nope,
close this somehow because I'm not seeing you guys. So let's just see. If I do the X, I don't know what's going to. Oh, settings.
Yeah.
Okay, all ready to go.
There we are. Good morning. How are you doing? And I just have to commend Jill here. She's on Pacific time.
Oh, wow. It's early.
This
Yes.
is really early.
It's like 6:34? Yeah.
That's right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
So
thank
anyways,
you guys for having me. Barbara, thank you for inviting me. And Barbara, too. It's delightful to meet you. And yeah, I'm wide awake. I've had my coffee. And
She's
I'm
ready to
just
go.
happy to join your conversation.
right. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So Jill, you've got to tell us about you because I number one, I love the title of your book.
Okay.
And so share with us, and you can hold that up here. I love that.
Growing older, living younger.
Growing older, living younger. That is of she's one of my people. Grow old gracefully. We do not have to give in to being. Yes, we are going to chronologically get older, but we don't have to get old.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Totally agree.
So
yeah, the subtitle of it is The Science of Aging Gracefully and the Art of Retiring Comfortably. And you know how the book actually evolved is really interesting as well. So
yeah, so let's hear it. Let's just tell us about how you got there, and tell us a bit about you and what your mission is, like, and why you're doing what you're doing. That's what it's so.
Yeah.
It is so fun to hear what makes other people tick,
Yes.
and to makes them happy, to be happy.
Yeah.
right. So essentially, I was a medical specialist in human biochemistry, medical biochemistry for 25 years. And I went into medicine from when I was a teenager. I wanted to do something that would be able to help people. And originally, I'd wanted to be a pediatrician. And I had this image of, helping people have happy, healthy, wonderful families. And then over time, I qualified as a pediatrician and found that my interest really was in understanding what kept people healthy from an internal metabolic point of view. Like what were the things that made our bodies work and stay healthy? And so I was actually recruited to become the head of the new biochemistry laboratory that was being built at the new Children's and Women's Hospital in Vancouver. And the only catch to that was I had to do a second medical specialty in medical biochemistry. So basically, my 25 years in medicine was really involved in understanding what keeps our bodies alive, our metabolism and our biochemistry. And I was particularly interested in nutrition. And then over time, I ended up getting promoted, and I ended up as a department head. And instead of being able to do what I loved, which was the teaching, the research, the science, I found I was really spending more time in bureaucratic, administrative things. And also, I didn't like the way medicine was evolving, in that there's so much new knowledge and so much expanding understanding in every discipline. The people were becoming super specialized. And so what tended to happen is they would have somebody who specialized in liver disease or kidney disease or the brain. And really what was needed was people who had the time to be able to look at the whole person. And I found that other disciplines were embracing the word holistic. So for many reasons, I decided to retire from medicine, and I became an online journalist. I developed my website, which was called A Review from the House, and it was all about lifestyle and exploring the other side of life, the arts, the culture, the travel. I took up ballroom dancing, and I wrote travel blogs about my ballroom dance cruising around the world, and my website grew, and I got onto everybody's media list. And so what happened is I would be getting invitations to attend openings and shows and things like that all over North America. And my joke at the time was, if I had a private jet, I could go to all these shishi red carpet openings in New York and London, in fact, everywhere. But I didn't have one. But what I did have was the ability to go to local shows and events. And one of the things that I was invited to was called the Wellness Show. And at the Wellness Show, I was looking for things that I could report to my readers that would be helpful to them from a health point of view, from a beauty point of view, etc. So hold that thought, and I will back up to how my book came about. So one of the things that happened while I was doing my ballroom dance cruising was the fact that I had suffered from low back problems since I fell off a horse when I was around about 18. And I don't know about you, but so many people have a similar, chronic low back issue. It's probably one of the commonest complaints that I hear from people. And what happened was my chronic low back pain evolved into a sciatica compression, so compression of the sciatic nerve. And I came back from one of my ballroom dance cruises, went to a dance class, came back, went to sleep, and woke up at 3:00 in the morning with the most excruciating pain that I have ever experienced. And it turned out, as I discovered 4 months later, that what was happening was I had osteoarthritis, again, something that many people experience. In fact, most people develop that sort of. You have it as well?
I have it,
Yeah. And what had happened was that the sort of canal through which the sciatic nerve ran had been compressed. So, I tried everything, but basically it took a 4-month period of me being on the couch, depressed, eating because I had nothing else to do. I put on 40 pounds. I was miserable. I didn't want to see anyone. I did all the wrong things. But at the end of that, I ended up having emergency spinal surgery. And that was actually life-saving. And when I came out of the spinal surgery, determined to get back on the dance floor, I realized that I had to do something to change the way I was aging, because if I was continuing to, get depressed, eat a lot, not communicate with people, not be active, I was just heading on sort of one downward trajectory to not a very healthy ending. So I undertook all sorts of research. I thought this is time to go back to my roots, and started reading again in medicine. And really interesting, and a very important thing, I think, for our listeners is, in spite of all my 25 years of medical knowledge, understanding science, understanding human nutrition, I bought into the pervasive messages that were being sent out by everyone about, nutrition. I mean, my instinct told me that things like, you have to lower your fat, don't eat cholesterol, eat 6 times a day to keep your blood sugar, all of that sort of thing. I knew instinctively that it was wrong, but there was so much messaging out there that it overcame my natural knowledge. Anyway, when I finally decided to smarten up and look at how I was moving, what I was eating, what my mind was doing, that was when it started me on the course to develop my roadmap for staying youthful and energetic and, growing older gracefully. So out of that, one of the things that happened, to go back to the wellness show, while I was looking for something to recommend to my listeners or readers, actually, it was at that time, I came across a company that claimed that they had a scientific base for aging gracefully. And what it involved was epigenetics. In other words, changing the way your genes work. And I was really, really skeptical. As a physician, I was seeing so much misinformation at the wellness show. So I thought, okay, so what's your scientific basis for helping us age well? And it turned out that, in fact, it was basically changing the way our genes operate at the cellular level. Yeah. So this is how I actually ended up with my 7th pillar, actually, of my growing older, living younger, which is choosing a challenge. And at the age of 70, I decided I would become an entrepreneur and start a health and anti-aging business.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happened basically was when I chatted to the people from this particular booth, it was a month before my 70th birthday. And when they came to see me and they were talking about anti-aging and everything that they could do, and I said, okay, I'm going to have a birthday party a month from now, and I'm turning 70, and can anything you do make me look 20? And they sort of laughed and said, well, we don't know about that. We have this particular device, and I'll show it to you because this is what changed my life. It's a face spa. And they said to me, use this twice a week for 5 minutes, and we guarantee you that people will say to you, what are you doing? You look younger. So a month later, so I'd use this 8 times, twice a week for 4 weeks, have my birthday party. And sure enough, people are saying to me, Jill, we know that you wouldn't do any sort of laser surgery or cosmetic surgery, but you are looking 10 years younger. And first I thought, 10 years is not 20, but I'll take that. And so I said, well, I have this wrinkle iron, as I called it at the time. And they said to me, a bunch of people said, how do I get that? And you have these light bulb moments in your life. You had mentioned that you had it when you discovered a particular company. And the light bulb moment was, what am I going to do for the next 20 years? I am going to challenge myself by becoming an entrepreneur. And that was when I started my online business in health and anti-aging. So part of that involved talking to people. And obviously, it's all about building relationships. And So I found I was, talking to people, meeting new people, explaining to them what they could do from a nutritional point of view and from an external skincare point of view to become active and age well.
Yeah.
And then I realized, it's a one-on-one. You can reach so many more people if you either have a course or a podcast or a book. And so that was when I set out to write the book, Growing Older, Living Younger. And initially, the problem was that I was so caught up in the science that after, a couple of years of trying to write the book, I had all these pages of science that no one was going to read. And that's when my daughter, who's far wiser than I am, said, Mom, people don't want to hear the science. They want to hear your story and what you did and how it can help them. And so one of the things that I did to get through the whole COVID isolation and, the quarantines and all of that was set out to finish my book. And yeah, so here I am. And from that grew my podcast, which I've just launched. So that's me in a nutshell. And my motive, I basically want to help people stay healthy and well. And, our lifespan is increasing. Many of us will live, till our 80s, 90s, as you sort of mentioned. But we don't want to live it unhealthy. So my plan is I'm going to age, and when my time comes, I'm going to go plunk. But I'm going to be healthy till that time.
Doing it.
That's it. That's it. I have to admit, my dad, he was pretty much healthy until his last maybe 3 months.
Mm.
And then he did exactly that. He was just going along, and all of a sudden it was like he hit a wall, done. But he was 102.
102, wow.
And now, and I think Jill can attest to this, is that now with all the nanotechnology out there and all the new wellness and understanding how our biomes work and how that impacts our aging. And now one of the things that I heard yesterday was that the new diabetes 3, they're coming out with that. And yesterday let's talk to one of our scientists, and she said it is now proven. It's now proven. You're not hearing about it yet, but you will be. And it's diabetes 3. And what that is why our brains do not absorb glucose. That's why it's a diabetes thing, but our brains are not getting the glucose, and that's why we're getting dementia and Alzheimer's and all of those things. And they're calling it diabetes 3.
Wow.
And she's one of the head researchers that's working on it. And she said, we have it. We have the science that proves it. Now it's just a matter of getting it out there and showing people how, and they can do it nutritionally, so that your body we were doing a class on what autophagy is and why autophagy is so important for our wellness. But it's like, but now because of things like that, they're saying that we have the potential to live to be 130 to 150 and beyond years. I want to live to be 150, and be where I am now and not grow any older than what I am, like physically, than what I am right now.
Yeah. And dance like Dr. Jill.
And go dancing.
Oh, dancing when I'm 90 still. I'm still doing ballroom dancing. So
I'm loving it. I love ballroom dancing. So when she said, I'm like, yes.
In fact, I just watched a thing on lifestyle. And this woman is 88 and she lives on a cruise ship. Wherever the ship goes, she goes. And she dances every day in their lounge. Every day. And that's what she does. And she doesn't care where the ship goes, but she lives, it's called the Celebrity or something. And she goes wherever the ship goes. The only time she gets off it is if it happens to go somewhere where she hasn't been, and she'll take a tour to see something new. But other than that, she's on the ship. And I went, I can see that, because she's active, she's meeting new people all the time, because every week she gets new neighbors. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, really? She
Yeah, I'm
gets
not sure if
neighbors.
that's the woman I met, a woman, can't remember how old she was, but who lived on a cruise ship. And in
Listen,
fact, I had lunch with her, but
what's her? Oh, gee, I just heard about her.
yeah,
What's
I
her
remember
name?
her name.
She's got white hair with little rolls. What's her name? I can't think of her name.
Can't
But
remember.
anyways,
A
but
long
that's what
time
she
ago.
does. She
Mhm.
gets new neighbors every, like, some of the cruises she goes on are probably like 30 days. Some of them are a month long, some of them are a week long. It
Mhm.
just depends on where the ship is going. But it was like, wow, wouldn't that be fun? Get new neighbors, and and you're going to find neighbors you like, neighbors you don't like. Oh well.
Yeah, I have to say that I actually had thought about it, but then, my kids are all here,
Right.
and
Well, that's
my
me too.
daughter in Vancouver, and other kids are in California, and yeah, I wouldn't want to be away from my community here for that length of time. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to being able
Yeah,
to do a
to
dance
do
crew.
certain things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, not living on the cruise ship, but at least, sometimes being able to get away sometime and come
just
back. I think that's,
right.
that's needed. I can't wait till we can get to that point
Yeah.
safely too, with
Right.
things going on. But it's just nice because I was talking to somebody because, with Zoom and StreamYard, it has opened up so much for us where we can do
Yeah.
things that we were doing in person, and we're finding ways and creative ways to do it on Zoom. And a friend of mine did have a ballroom dancing competition on
Mhm.
Zoom. So and I
Yeah.
was like, what? And she said, yeah, Barbara, we put it together. Everybody, they would get dressed up just like they had either partner or, they just did something singly. And we would
Mhm.
watch them on Zoom, and then, we would judge, and then another person. And I'm like, see how creative we are when we can be creative.
Exactly.
I hate to, well, some people say, yeah, bro, we were forced to be creative. I said, well, yeah, but what's coming? Look what's coming out of it, though. Look what's coming out of everything. And I'm so glad that we could take, something that it's like a pandemic like this and turn it into, something that's wonderful in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. It
One of the pillars of my Growing Older, Living Younger project involves connection and community.
right.
And yes, that was to me, that was one of the key things that happened with the pandemic. Because of the ability to reach out digitally, I expanded my network. I got in touch with family that, I hadn't really talked to for a long time, but now I was able to talk to them regularly, in South Africa, in
Wow.
Australia, in England, in Belgium, in fact. And yeah, so there's always something that one can positively get out of any adverse circumstance. And I think the ability to reach out and communicate and extend one's community, even although it is digitally, was one of the positive things, if anything could be positive about this.
Right.
Yes.
I think I truly believe that 5 years from now, we're going to realize, in 5 years, 10 years from now, we are going to realize that this was absolutely a God-given gift to us
Mm.
to to do just what you just said. Expand our creativity, expand the people that we know. Like, I am part of a couple of international groups.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who
One of
would
the
have
groups
thought?
I'm in, we have people in Norway, and it's like, duh.
It's just,
It,
yeah, it's always, I'm loving how I'm knowing people from all over the country now just because of what we're dealing with right now,
yeah,
and just learning who they are. Just like you said, Barbara, that's one thing I love is understanding how people tick, like what was their purpose?
right.
How did they start and how did they get to where they're at now? Like the
Yeah.
CEOs of their companies and the
Mm,
wellness, what you do, and just all different
right.
aspects, and how they
Right.
just said, well, I started here, or I wasn't even thinking about this, or, I went through this particular thing in my life and now it got me to what I'm doing now. And it's just so amazing to hear those stories.
And it's made it so much more acceptable to share your story. the good, the bad, the ugly.
Ugly, yeah.
You know, what we went through, like we were talking about before, you know, like once that scab is healed over and we've left it alone, let it go, we've left it alone, and now it's healed. Well, you know what? Somebody else that still has a wound or a scab and who is still picking at it, hey, you know what? We can share with them ways to stop doing that.
Stop
Don't
picking.
do that. You know, and that's why it's so important to get our message out there. And
Yes.
age is it's no distance. There is no age. It's in
Wow.
choice. It's in choice.
It's in choice. Well, I know our time is near right now, so I would love Dr. Julian to basically share, some words of wisdom as you have for the listeners before we sign off. So, Dr. Julian, we want to hear from you.
Yes, for me, the most important thing that I had to do was create a mindset of belief that it was possible to change my aging trajectory. So I'll basically tell you what my 7 pillars of the Growing Older, Living Younger project are, and you can hear more about it as well in our podcast. So number 1 is understanding your genetics and what your genetic destiny was originally intended to be, and therefore what are the things that you are capable of changing. Number 2 is preserving your mind. So the mindset, mindfulness, using things like meditation, yoga, etc., to be constantly aware of yourself in the presence and living every minute to the full. And then I have something that I called Mind Keep, which is ways of preserving your cognition. And there's a whole section in my book on what I do to keep my mind sharp. Number 3 is obviously to do with nutrition. And I believe in a low carbohydrate. In fact, I have a ketogenic lifestyle, which means I can eat wonderful fresh foods all the time. I'm never hungry, and it keeps my weight under control. Where am I? Up to number 4 is physical activity, prevention of things like falls and fractures, which is a major problem that interferes with your aging well. So I have a whole chapter on that. My choice is ballroom dancing, but some people just have to stand and walk. You'd mentioned sitting, and I work at a standing desk, so I basically really sit. This is an unusual situation for me. And you'd also mentioned a timer. So I actually have a smart watch that at 10 minutes before the hour reminds me that I've got to get up and complete a certain number of steps. So I use a lot of tools, and I talk about that in my course. And then I have the next pillar is beauty is skin deep. And I think there's more to skincare than just the appearance of getting rid of wrinkles and counteracting ageism. It's the health of your skin. So I have a whole series of things that I do to make sure that my skin is healthy and looks glowing, and I don't look like a wrinkled prune kind of thing. And then there's the whole community connection. And then finally, choosing a challenge, constantly challenging yourself, learning new technologies, etc. So, and I'm happy, I'm sharing this through my book, but I'm also happy to talk to people one-on-one. And I think you'll put links to my Calendly and all of that in your show notes. Yeah. So, and thank you both for, introducing me to this new technology, new streaming technology. And just, it's delightful to meet you, Barbara, and to reconnect with you.
Yeah. We'll have to chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. And we do have her website down below. It's been scrolling to make sure that you reach out to this wonderful, amazing woman to show you, okay, you can, we're getting older, but you can be young. And that's the thing. It's all about the mindset. It starts there. I always tell people, anything you do in wellness, but it always has to start with the mindset, because you got to make, like Barbara said, my other sidekick here, you have to make that choice. You have to make that decision.
And we both agreed. Yeah, it starts with belief.
It starts with belief.
To believe that you can do it, and it might take a while. It does. I mean, one of my things is that you did not get into the situation that you are in right now. You did not wake up yesterday, in my case, 20 pounds overweight. Okay, so now it's going to take a little bit for me to get it off again, but it is a process. It is going to happen, but it is going to happen because I'm working at it.
And you made that
and people are already noticing that I'm slimmer across here, and that I'm noticing it in my shirts and stuff. It's like, oh, but gee, Barb, yeah. Have you, what do you do? And it's like, and they're noticing it in my face. Hey, awesome. Hasn't caught up with the rest of my body yet, but it's going to. But that's the thing. But you have to start. You have to believe. You have to believe that you can start and then start.
Yes, start somewhere and believe it and keep moving.
And then believe it and keep going.
Yeah. So next week, Barbara, I will have another special co-host, right? Next Tuesday?
You are, because I am, yes, I will not be here next week because I am going to be having eye surgery done. This flap in my eye, it has taken off 20 points of my vision. And like, I'm really noticing it. And when other people, it's like, Barb, what happened? What's the matter with your eyelid? Oh, brother, okay, time to go have it. When other people are noticing, it's like, gee, Barb, what's the matter? What's happened to your eyelid? And it's because it's, other parts of me have drooped too, but my eyelids have really drooped. And now it's interfering with my vision. So I'm going to go and have that done. So Jason is going to be your co-host.
Yes, Jason. So next week we'll be on, and it's going to be nice to have a special guest co-host. Yeah, and then again, Dr. Julian, thank you so much for gracing us today with all your wisdom and knowledge and sharing. And please reach out to Dr. Julian. Buy her book. I'm telling you, it's going to change you. It's going to change you. It's going to give you a big impact and let you think more about, hey, just because I'm getting old, that doesn't mean I have to act old.
Exactly. Just because you're getting chronologically older does not mean that you have to be old.
Thank you. Who said that? So don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
With that, we will see you next week. And you ladies, take care and have a wonderful rest of your week.
We'll see you have a good one. See you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I'm hanging on your every word. The love inside, I feel it burn. I've never felt this way before. I've had a taste, now I want